moments in the 10-month-long saga.
If I have to pay a political price for it, I'm going to uphold a position that constitutional rights do not begin at Ligini. It is not a matter as to whether the minister is inclined to authorize the extradition. It is a question that the minister would be authorizing something that she knows to be in violation of the law.
We need to know what the position is that is at odds regarding the law. It has nothing to do with the guilt or innocence of this gentleman.
No, but Reverend Tweets, it may well be.
Any proceedings in law?
No, Reverend Tweets.
What aspect of Jamaican law can be beyond this parliament?
And the member could insist all he wants. I'm telling the House with the greatest of respect, it is not possible for me to go into the kind of details that he's seeking me to divulge.
I'm asking the Prime Minister, think it appropriate for the government legal officers to act as the defense attorneys for the accused person rather than protect the interests of the Jamaican people?
The question is provocative, and I'm not going to allow the member to provoke it.
I am fighting that Jamaica be freed of criminal.
The Minister of Justice, in consideration of all the factors, will sign the authorization for the extradition process to commence.
Coke is being held now in a secure facility.
So with Christopher Coke now behind bars in the United States, former National Security Minister Dr. Peter Phillips is calling for an official inquiry into the government's handling of the extradition process, including the incursion into Tivoli, which saw the loss of dozens of lives. This as there are clearer indications the recently passed crime bills are likely to be challenged in the island's courts. Kingsley Roberts has more.
It's been a 10-month saga which has culminated in the extradition of Christopher Dudus Coke, months after the government claimed that given the evidence presented by the US, doing so would jeopardize his human rights. In the aftermath of the joint police operation which has left over 70 persons dead, with Mr. Coke now in US custody, Dr. Phillips believes it's time for a thorough examination of the chain of events.
I think we need to, as a country, undertake some formal assessment of everything that transpired in that period, because I think we need to ensure that if the implication is the risk of state capture by elements of organized crime, then we need to understand it in all its dimensions and to ensure that we never get there again.
He thinks too many questions still linger regarding the matter, which must be answered. This process, he feels, is vital to ensuring the nation is informed on what really transpired and learns from the bitter experience.
What was the role of the man at Phelps matter? Who was involved? Was the government involved? All those issues need to be cleared up. Not because of any attempt to vilify the government or any individuals in it, but because as a country we need to make an assessment of what all of this means.
So with an alleged drug don now extradited, the broader issue of stemming crime remains in focus. But some feel the crime bills recently passed in the lower house will be undermined.
The crime bills are offensive to the Constitution. You're going to have several challenges to these crime bills.
You will challenge them?
There are many challenges that are going to be made.
You will challenge them yourself? Or?
I think criminal lawyers who practice criminal law will challenge them.
Yes.
And as those challenges succeed, as they will, it will erode the efficacy of the legislation.
Human rights activists maintain that too much power has been handed to the police, with very little protection for the rights of citizens, seeing the Charter of Rights is still in train. Kingsley Roberts, CVM News.
And Reverend Al Miller, the clergyman who was found with coke at the time of his capture, has been slapped with charges of perverting the course of justice and harboring a fugitive. As we hear in this report from Fabia Phillips Lawrence, already there are discussions as to whether or not the charges were excessive.
Whether or not Reverend Al Miller had overstepped his boundaries in trying to assist law enforcers is a question many will ask. But on Thursday, after being charged, the clergyman emerged seemingly unperturbed by the charges, noting that the law enforcers were just doing their jobs and he has accepted their decision. But when asked whether he has regrets,
Regrets? Yes. No, man. Whenever you do what is right, you must never regret it. And doing right sometimes has consequences.
He also insisted that his vision was to see resolution to the matter which had spiraled out of control.
Glory to God. Mission accomplished. The other stuff, oh, come on. It's a price to, what? A small price to pay for a national transformation, sister. We're on the course for some good things for this country in the days ahead.
His attorney, Leslie Campbell, in the meantime, declined to state definitively whether or not the charges against his clients were excessive, noting that the powers that be had made their decision. But his reaction seemed to say it all.
He's been charged, you know, much to my chagrin, with harboring a fugitive.
He's now concerned about the wider implications of the charges on other clergymen.
But what it's certainly doing is saying to ministers of religion and the wider public who have sought to assist the police in doing what they failed to do, that, listen, you're no longer privileged to do it, and it has very wide implications for the society.
Mr. Campbell also took issue with a seemingly public trial already underway for his client before he actually sees a judge. Mr. Miller is to appear in court on July 2, having posted a $200,000 bail. The views were many as to whether Reverend Miller would have been charged or awarded, but discussions will definitely continue on the matter. Reporting from downtown Kingston, I'm Fabian Phillips Lawrence for CVM News.
And the police say they will now concentrate on the numerous individuals detained from West Kingston over the last month. More from Dara Smith.
There have been numerous calls for the police to release the detainees being held in lockups since the imposition of the state of emergency on May 23. While the police commissioner Owen Ellington has at least answered the queries as it relates to those from West Kingston, saying it will take time. He disclosed that charges are expected to be laid against 30 of the 80 persons now in detention. However, even some of the detainees already processed and released may be rearrested based on the ongoing investigations.
This is certainly the largest case that we have ever dealt with in terms of operations, investigations, transition, and all of those things. So it's going to take time. But what we did was to deal with the priority targets first. Coke is priority, is dealt with first. Others, in terms of their value to organized crime, are being dealt with now. And those others will be dealt with in due course.
The police chief explained that the security forces were successful in pulling Jamaica from the brink of anarchy as members of a community had decided they were bigger than the laws of the land.
Make no mistake, on the 23rd of May, it was downtown Kingston. The following day, it would have extended further north. And wherever those persons felt that there was this willingness on the part of the state to apply the law onto organized crime figures, they were going to move in that direction. So we have done for this country a job that I am very sorry that many persons have not yet sat down to try and assess the value of it.
The commissioner, however, says the leaders in both forces understand the value of the work done, and that is why they have continued with the secondary operations such as curfews and raids with the same zeal and determination of their earlier actions. So now the call is for the full support of the wider population. Dara Smith, CVM News.
Even as the security forces were prepared